In a letter to respected COP21 world leaders in Paris, France in 2015, Supreme Master Ching Hai urgently advised them to implement vegan law as the solution to mitigate global warming. The letter reads as follows. Respected COP21 world leaders Paris, my special salute and best wishes to all of your distinguished, honoured ladies and gentlemen who have gathered in Paris for the protection of our world. This is just a reminder that just paying money alone cannot save lives, but being vegan does. A lot of evidence and information about this for you to consider are in the book From Crisis to Peace, free online at crisis2peace.org. Countless lives in the present and future, including yours and your children's future, children of your children's, are in your hands. Save them by voting for and implementing vegan law to stabilize the climate. Otherwise, lives on Earth will perish and we will be committing a graver offense than all the acts of killing and wars combined. With all love in God, yours most sincerely, Supreme Master Ching Hai. Vegan.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Műsoraink sok nyelvet tartalmaznak. Kérjük, tekintse meg itt suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Since satellite records began in 1979, summer Arctic ice has already decreased dramatically from a high of more than 7 million square kilometers to just over 4 million square kilometers in 2022. Projections suggest that most of that September ice will disappear within the next few decades.
Our Fragile Planet 2023's Wake Up Call, Part 4 of 4. Continue watching to find out more.
Veganism extends compassionate, gentle benevolence to all sentient beings. Dr. Stanley Sapon, PhD, vegan.
Moldova fără cruzime! Moldova fără cruzime! Moldova fără cruzime! Moldova fără cruzime! Cerem atitudine umană! Cerem atitudine umană! Legea! 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 Cerem adoptarea legii! Cerem adoptarea legii!
The friendly locals of Gagauzia may greet you with Hozgeldeniz, which means welcome in Gagauz, one of the region's official languages. My name is Vasil. The lucky people of Gagauzia wish that world leaders will be guided by divine wisdom to implement vegan laws to ensure a healthier, happier world for both humans and animal people.
don't want more war. We want to ask the Palestinian government to put their hands in the Israeli government's hands in order to reach peace resolve, to end this bloody conflict. And they must know that this is a popular demand in the two sides.
Roni is Jewish and Maha is Palestinian, a resident of Gaza City in the Gaza Strip. These two heroic women share an enduring friendship that has already withstood 2 wars in Gaza. And when they spoke, these women didn't speak of blame. They spoke only of how dialogue and nonviolence can end the pain that both sides and both of them have experienced. Together, they give each other hope for a better future.
We're tired of wars. We want to cry out and say no, no more war. There are other ways. We want to live peacefully with our neighbors across the border. We want people to understand that war isn't getting us anywhere. Violence isn't getting us anywhere.
We agree there is no military solution to the conflict, and that real peace resides not in the hands of the governments, but in the hands of the people, our hands. Real peace shall
Oh Gaza, please make peace, not war. Better near neighbors than relatives afar.
Supreme Master Ching Hai, vegan.
Welcome to our show, Our Fragile Planet 2023's Wake Up Call, Part 4 of 4. In Our Fragile Planet 2023's Wake Up Call, Part 3 of 4, we covered recent heat waves, wildfires, and droughts that have led to water and food shortages around the world. On today's program, we'll highlight the impact of climate change on the oceans, forests, and our co-inhabitants. With global temperatures steadily rising, the world's ice continues to melt much more quickly than expected this year.
The world's glaciers shrinking at a dramatic pace right before our eyes.
It's not just that we're losing ice, but we're losing ice faster and faster, and that has consequences.
The 40 glaciers tracked worldwide lost an average of more than 4.2 feet of ice in a year. In Europe, the melting of the glaciers in the Alps is off the charts. Little winter snow and a summer heat wave, exacerbated by dark dust from the Saharan desert that trapped heat, accelerating the record melt. In Switzerland, for the first time, no snow survived the summer melt season, even at the very highest sites. In this country, Montana's Glacier National Park is in danger of losing its namesake ice. The park has lost 85% of its ice area. That was 5 years ago. Today, the government says the park is warming at twice the global average. All this glacier melt contributing to record sea level rise. Here in lower Manhattan, scientists predict the waters behind me could rise another foot by 2050.
In the Arctic, the level of glacial melting has reached the point of no return due to human-induced climate change with devastating consequences.
We find that even in the emission scenario with the lowest emissions, we still see an ice-free Arctic by the middle of the century.
Since satellite records began in 1979, summer Arctic ice has already decreased dramatically from a high of more than 7 million square kilometers to just over 4 million square kilometers in 2022. Projections suggest that most of that September ice will disappear within the next few decades. Loss of sea ice in the summer puts Canada's already vulnerable polar bear population in further jeopardy, while threatening to forever change the way of life in northern communities. There's also growing evidence that lower latitudes will see impacts too.
There is a theory that if you take away the sea ice, that changes the atmosphere over the Arctic,
which some climate experts believe could lead to a weakened polar jet stream.
So a weakening jet stream would affect weather patterns, causing slower moving systems, which could lead to flooding and more active weather. It would also allow strong areas of high pressure, like a summer heat dome and a polar vortex, to dominate for longer,
leading to even more weather emergencies.
There are 211 countries and regions which have animal people protection laws. Tuvalu is one of them. Tuvalu Penal Code. Any person who intentionally and unlawfully kills, maims, or wounds any animal or bird individual capable of being stolen is guilty of a misdemeanor. Obey the law of your country. No more animal people slaughterhouses. No more hurting. No more murdering them to eat, to lab test, or for any reason at all. Be vegan, make peace. So be it.
The glaciers in Antarctica are also melting faster than ever, but we still have a chance to save them.
This year's maximum sea ice level is about 1 million square kilometers less than the previous record low set in 1986. For context, that is about the same size as British Columbia. And the average maximum amount of sea ice between 1981 to 2010 compared to this year is about 1.75 million square kilometers less, about the size of BC and Alberta combined. Experts say sea ice is necessary for penguins who use it to breed and rear their young, on top of other environmental factors. Last year's drop in sea ice levels was responsible for around 9,000 penguin drownings.
Glacier melting puts 15 million people across the globe at risk of deadly glacial lake outburst floods. The Himalayan glaciers could lose 70% of their ice by 2100 with current temperatures rising, putting millions in danger, and its consequences are irreversible.
But looking at the data from satellites, we can see just from 2000 and 2009, and then to the following decade, there was a significant increase, over 60% increase in the glacier melt. And that's huge in just 10 years. And this is going to have really big consequences.
The melted ice forms ponds.
These ponds he's talking about eventually become glacial lakes. And when they form quickly, they are unstable. This leads to them bursting and sending a destructive torrent of water downstream. One of the worst examples of this is from India. In 2013, a glacial lake burst and flooded the town of Kedarnath. Thousands were killed in the pilgrimage site. Disasters like that will become more common as the Himalayan glaciers rapidly melt. And that's until the glacial waters are around. Once they get depleted, the rivers will start drying up. Mighty rivers like the Ganga, Brahmaputra, Mekong and Yangtze will all start to dwindle. This will affect the lives and livelihoods of 2 billion people.
The melting of ice leading to rising sea levels could potentially submerge dozens of cities, including Shanghai, Dhaka, Mumbai, Jakarta, Rotterdam, and New York within the next 100 years. This phenomenon has the potential to flood areas currently inhabited by 470 to 760 million people around the world. Ancient pathogens that have been preserved in permafrost for tens of thousands of years are now a cause for concern. The global warming-induced melting of permafrost in Arctic regions, such as Siberia, Alaska, Canada, and Scandinavia, has raised fears among scientists that these potentially deadly viruses and bacteria may resurface and pose a threat to humanity. These concerns are grounded in reality, as ancient bacteria and a giant virus known as Pythovirus sibericum were revived after remaining dormant in the Himalayas and Siberian permafrost for hundreds of thousands of years. In another instance, thawing permafrost released ancient bacteria, leading to an outbreak in western Siberia that resulted in the deaths of thousands of reindeer people and the infection of dozens of people in 2016. Even more recently, in the past year, scientists discovered a revived virus dating back 48,500 years in melting Siberian permafrost. Climate change, with its impact of milder winters and warmer summers, has created favorable conditions for infectious diseases to expand into new geographic areas and infect a larger population. In addition to the geographical shift, new viruses and bacteria can evolve, introducing the potential for new diseases to emerge. This has led to the reporting of numerous new types of diseases and the emergence of previously unseen disease trends in recent times.
Vegan, like an angel with spreaded wings.
We brought her inside and nursed her back to health. Where's Tootsie? There she is. She really made herself right at home, like she had been living here for her entire life. As soon as Tootsie met our dog Neil, she said, "That is my best friend." Tootsie is following Neil around wherever he goes, and she is always seeking his attention. She will bark just like Neil. Every single night she has a routine of just having the most insane zoomies. And Neil just sits there and watches her. She is just a ball of energy. Tootsie! You got it, Toots. Come on. She learned to go up and down the stairs because she was following Neil. She just wanted to be around him all the time. Neil's kind of like Tootsie's big brother, and Tootsie really brings out that young energy in him. We just have the absolute best time together. If he was asleep, Tootsie was asleep cuddled up next to him. Tootsie. Neil was always right next to her when she was being introduced to new fruits. It really was just nice for her to have a companion. Once Tootsie was vaccinated and we felt that she had grown enough, it was finally time to introduce her to her future pig family. I know, baby. She was definitely a little bit timid at first. With each day that went by, it just became much easier for her, and she really started to love being outside. She's just really loving her new outdoor life. I really look forward to seeing her grow into the amazing pig that she already is, and I know she will be as time goes on.
We'll take a brief interval and be back shortly. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television.
We pray for Ukraine, or Ukraine.
Welcome back to Our Fragile Planet, 2023's Wake Up Call, Part 4 of 4. Plants and forests serve as the foundation of natural ecosystems, offering essential benefits such as providing food and oxygen, as well as absorbing a significant portion of the carbon dioxide generated by human activities. However, the effects of climate change are undermining the resilience of plant populations and impacting them negatively. Increasing temperatures result in more frequent and severe droughts, wildfires, and outbreaks of invasive pests, which in turn compel plants to either migrate or face the risk of extinction. A study found that some tropical plants have stopped undergoing photosynthesis due to climate change. Dr. Gregory Goldsmith, an associate professor and ecologist at Chapman University in California, USA, says, "When leaves reach a certain temperature, their photosynthetic machinery breaks down."
Bet you don't know that piece of meat is from a living, breathing, kicking being who was still with us here on Earth some hours ago, but suffered a brutal murder for you to eat its flesh? Please, do some research about it.
The rise in temperatures on both land and sea has significant repercussions for local ecosystems and creates favorable conditions for invasive species to flourish. According to a UN study, invasive species introduced by human activities are spreading at an accelerated rate and causing devastating economic impacts worldwide. These invasive species collectively cost the global economy €391 billion annually. Additionally, the Asian tiger mosquito, a carrier of several fatal tropical diseases, has been expanding its presence throughout Europe, taking advantage of increasingly lengthy and hot summers. In Finland, researchers have also detected Culex modestus, a tropical mosquito that carries viruses, including the West Nile virus, caused by rising temperatures. On the British coast, marine heat waves are attracting more basking shark people, jellyfish folk, and algal blooms. These events not only pose risks to swimmers and dog people walkers, but also have adverse effects on bird folk and other populations. From ocean to sky, wildlife is forced to make adjustments to cope with climate change. A University of Glasgow study found that the majority of the world's fish people are relocating to colder waters, near the poles or deeper waters due to warmer sea temperatures. Marine life is sensitive to rising temperatures that affect their metabolism, growth, and reproduction. Climate change has completely changed marine ecosystems in many locations over the last century. Now, we can no longer find certain species in those areas. Bird people migrate to warmer climates every winter and come back in spring. But climate change alters their habitats.
Climate change is already starting to mess with those biannual international flights. Our birds that don't have to go too far, like our robins and our ducks, use weather cues or climate cues to return. Things like waiting for the weather to warm up or when the water starts to open up. But as our spring melts push earlier and earlier with climate change, our birds are following suit. In Alberta, our mountain bluebirds are arriving about 19 days earlier than they did about 60 years ago. And our warmer falls mean our birds are leaving later as well.
In the fall, our saw-whet owls that we catch at the Beaverville Bird Observatory are migrating later. So 3 days per 20 years, so 1.5 days per decade later, which doesn't sound like much, but if that keeps multiplying out, it'd be like the bluebirds arriving 3 weeks earlier than they used to.
When they leave later, bird people have to migrate 43% faster than they usually do by flying faster and taking fewer and shorter stopovers to refuel on the way. This intense activity has caused a drop of more than 6% in their overall survival rate. Cuckoo folk have a hard time adjusting their clocks to keep pace with climate change, leading to a decline of 71% in the cuckoo people population in England since 1995. Similar to cuckoo folk, many animal people can't quickly adapt to the new weather conditions. Therefore, climate change can be deadly for some species in some areas. Test results reveal that hot Pacific Ocean currents caused hundreds of bird people to die along Mexico's Pacific coast earlier this year. The mass die-off of sooty shearwater, seagull, pelican, and other wild bird people was found from Chiapas on the border with Guatemala all the way north and west to Baja California.
There are 211 countries and regions which have animal people protection laws. Obey the law of your country. No more animal people slaughterhouses. No more hurting. No more murdering them to eat, to lab test, or for any reason at all. Be vegan. Make peace. So be it.
Recently, marine life was also found to show bizarre behavior before stranding themselves to death. In Western Australia, approximately 100 whale people moved tightly together in a heart shape, then stranded themselves at Sheynez Beach in late July. Dozens of pilot whale folk were also spotted dead on a beach in Scotland. A temperature rise resulted in low oxygen levels in the Darling River, Australia, causing mass fish people deaths. The NSW Department of Primary Industries says, the amount of dissolved oxygen water can hold decreases with increasing water temperature, which can add additional stress to fish that may already be struggling. Oxygen deprivation is most likely behind the massive 2,500 seal folk deaths on Russia's Caspian coast last year, according to Russian environmental officials. Thousands of shellfish people have washed up on Saltburn by the Sea, England, in a massive die-off. Mussel, starfish, crab, and clam people are found dead or dying. The shores of Cyprus saw a number of whale folk beaching and dying in early 2023. Some believe their deaths could be related to the noise from massive earthquakes that killed tens of thousands of people in neighboring Turkey and Syria. Giannis Ioannou of the Cyprus Fisheries and Marine Research Department says, these animals have an echolocation system which is affected by sea noise. It could be military exercises, seismic drills, or naturally the earthquake in the region. Some species have gone from massive die-off to extinction.
The International Union for Conservation of Nature has sounded the alarm over the devastation that climate change is having on marine life. At the Convention on Biological Diversity held in Montreal, the United Nations body said nearly 1/10 of underwater plants and animals is threatened with extinction. The union announced that more than 1,550 of some 17,903 marine plants and animals assessed were on its red list of threatened species, meaning that they are at risk of extinction. These figures are likely just the tip of the iceberg of what may be happening underwater. Among the creatures under threat, the IUCN this year gave attention to the dugong, a large and docile marine mammal that lives from the eastern coast of Africa to the western Pacific Ocean. Also called the sea cow, the number of remaining dugong have fallen to fewer than 250 adults in East Africa and fewer than 900 in the French territory of New Caledonia. Also facing threat is the dugong's main food source, seagrass, due to oil and gas exploration and production. And the pillar coral, a Caribbean species, degraded 2 categories from vulnerable to critically endangered. And many species of abalone, a mollusk, also face extinction.
Climate change has also caused coral reefs to bleach and die off. Multiple reefs around the world are completely bleached or dead. Coral species in Florida, USA, face extinction as the sea temperature rises in the area, resulting in mass bleaching events and die-offs. Coral reefs are homes to thousands of marine species. Therefore, The loss of coral reefs can lead to the extinction of other sea life. Meanwhile, rapid ice melting has a severe impact on polar bear people and emperor penguin people in Antarctica. On land, wolf folk in Andalusia disappeared in 2013 and were finally declared extinct. In Africa, many species could soon be gone forever, including giraffe, leopard, gorilla, and rhino people. While in Asia, Borneo, orangutan, tiger, and finless porpoise people are critically endangered.
Make peace now, not make women widows. Not make children cry. Make nations strong and still. Make your heart beautiful and new.
Scientists warn that the sixth mass extinction of the planet's biodiversity is currently underway, with the disappearance of many species in the last few centuries. The extinction rate is accelerating with terrifyingly hot temperatures. The world's hottest day ever was this year. Earth experienced many extreme weather disasters caused by climate change that were covered in our series, such as a historic drought in the Horn of Africa, Southeast Asia's hottest ever heat wave, extremely high temperatures in Arizona, USA, record-breaking rains in Korea and Brazil, Africa's most powerful cyclone, Freddy, and Mississippi, USA's deadliest tornado in over a decade. With the current rate of global warming, more and more extreme disasters are expected to happen.